With COVID-19 changing the way we do things day to day, organizations that help our most vulnerable in our community are also having to make adjustments to help those most in need. I'm joined now by Luke Thiessen with Siloam Mission to talk about how they've been coping with this pandemic. Luke, thanks so much for speaking with me.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for calling and being interested in us.
I'm sure everybody in the city knows what Siloam Mission is, but just to cover our bases, what is Siloam Mission? What do you guys do?
Siloam Mission is the largest service provider for those experiencing poverty and homelessness in Winnipeg. Primarily that includes a soup kitchen, a overnight emergency shelter, and progressive services to help people overcome homelessness.
So, what kind of changes have you guys had to implement with the pandemic and everything sort of shutting down in the last month or so?
Yeah, with the onset of this pandemic, it's been a progressive um, change to slowly shutting down our services and finding ways to reduce potential exposure in our community. It started with suspending all volunteer shifts so that the only people coming into contact with our community were staff. And then we followed that by suspending all non-essential services, so scaling back to just food, shelter, and primary health care. And we've now been making changes within those services to make them as safe as possible for our community. So currently, only the 110 people staying in our shelter are allowed in our dining room. Everybody else who needs a meal can get a bagged meal at the front door. And in our shelter, we've instituted new measures to help increase social distancing, physical distancing, and try to protect people as much as possible. We know that our community is among the most vulnerable, so we have to find ways to protect them, even though they're in many cases, the people who find it the most difficult to self-isolate if they don't have a place to go. They're often ones with pre-existing medical conditions and specifically vulnerable with their physical health. So it's extra important that we find ways to limit exposure and give them the tools they need to stay safe.
How are the staff and people who use your services, how is everybody coping with the changes?
It's a strange and difficult time, to be sure. I know that our volunteers are disappointed they can't be coming out to help, but of course they know it's necessary for protecting our community. Our staff have really, some of them have less work to do because our other programs are suspended. So everybody's really pitching in to make sure that we can keep providing the essential services. So that means, working in the kitchen and prepping meals when normally that's not your job. People have been really great about it, but that said, it's a scary and uncertain time for a lot of people. So there's definitely both elements, and we're just having to be really careful and take it day by day.
With people not being able to volunteer, one other big thing that helps you guys run is donations. Has that been affected at all with this, or not so much?
In some ways, it's too early to tell. What we do know is we've been forced to cancel our major fundraising and food collection events. So we're now entering a really uncertain time. As we've been saying, we serve a community who often doesn't know where their next meal will come from. But for us, now we're kind of facing the same reality. We don't know where our next donation of food or money will come from, having had to cancel all of this. So for right now, our focus is on getting the things that we know we're going through more of in our kitchen. With this move to bagged lunches, normally we would just be making whatever kind of food we could with what's donated. But now we really have to narrow the scope. It has to be something we can put in a paper bag. So it's a lot more sandwiches. It's stuff that you would put in your kid's school lunch bag. Those are not things we necessarily had on hand. So that's definitely creating a pinch financially and with our food stocks.
With that in mind, and people are trying to be safe, but if they wanted to help you guys out, how can people help Silo Mission if they wanted to?
The biggest thing people can do to help right now is donate either supplies for our lunches or cash. So, of course, financial donations go a long way and we can stretch them a long way. But if you have things that you'd like to donate, especially things like paper bags for lunches, Ziploc bags, bread, mayonnaise for sandwiches, and prepackaged items like granola bars and juice boxes, things you'd put in a school lunch bag. Those are the things that are the most crucial and helpful for us. You can find all of the information on our website, siloam.ca. If you do have things to drop off, there's a map there and a list of our urgent needs. But for those who might be concerned about that process and about, of course, social distancing, our donation center is in a separate building from the rest of our services. It's kind of around the corner at 309 Logan, so you can drop things off there Monday to Friday during office hours and without going to too much risk, and it's a huge help for our community.